Yeah, all right. NFL now, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Christmas Eve. Packers at home against the Vikings. Green Bay 6.5, 43 the total. Adrian Peterson, who knows if he'll go. Still bothered. Now it's a groin injury, and he didn't do much in the loss against the Colts. Only 6 carries, had the fumble as well. And I don't know what I'm going to get out of this Minnesota team because that thing was over early. We ran it down on Monday's show. Blown out, listless performance in the first half. Embarrassed against the Colts. And afterwards, Zimmer said nobody was fighting. I want fighters. I don't know what's going to happen Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, well, let's start with this, Paulie, the basic premise. Christmas Eve, all right? As fans, we don't really like it. As bettors, we don't really like it. It's time that nobody tends to want to spend. Well, shouldn't say nobody. But, there are other things that people want to be doing, including the players themselves. You've got commitments before the game. You've got commitments to after the game. And generally, over the long term, I've found that over the holidays, I like the road teams more than the home teams. The home teams, all they got to do is drive home after the game. They got all the distractions. The road team, they're there the night before. There's some bonding together on the holidays. And in general, those are the type of teams I want to look for. But I've got my questions about Minnesota. I mean, you talked about Adrian Peterson. He was 100% healthy, but it doesn't matter. AP or no AP, as I've told you 500 times this season, Paul Howard.
Oh, it matters. It matters.
It doesn't matter because the offensive line stinks. And they used their 7th different offensive lineup combination in 14 games last week, and that one stunk too. And they opened the game, and they had a pair of 3-and-outs and a 4-play drive that ended with a punt, and then Peterson, turnover the next 2 possessions. It's ball game. And Peterson's quote, "It's about every guy doing their job and being productive when those opportunities come in the run game." I feel like there were some things I could have done better. I'm sure the offensive line feels the same, and passing the ball as well. We've been hearing the same story all year from this Vikings offense, Paulie, but my bigger concern right now for Minnesota is on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, and they might pack it in, too, if they fall behind early. Packers have got the money 3 weeks in a row after the 4-game losing streak. Again, kudos to Rodgers. We thought he was nuts when they were talking about running the table. We actually had him twice on the show as winners. But it's been the emergence of Ty Montgomery, who we've been telling you about here on SportsBit. He was enormous running the ball in the win against Chicago. Who knew he could just hand off to this guy and he could be 160 rushing yards?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Packers, 451 yards in that game, 7.8 yards per play. They did hang 30 in that contest against a fairly weak defense. And, of course, Montgomery with 16 carries, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's getting short yardage touchdowns. 156 of his 162 rushing yards came after contact. We think of him, converted wide receiver. He's running between the tackles and getting tough yards and breaking tackles, which is something that's kind of impressive. But, I mean, we're kind of all over the map with this preview. Let me get back to the Vikings defense, Bali. This defense allowed 21 first downs in the first half last week. 3 touchdown drives in the game of 88 yards or more against Andrew Luck. It was a defense that fought all year, and all of a sudden they ran into a hot quarterback. They didn't show. Well, Aaron Rodgers has a tendency to be a pretty hot quarterback at this time of the year, regardless of the Mike Zimmer quote that you're talking about. Quote, "They're doing a few new things in the running game. The last 5 weeks, I think they've had more 20-yard completions in the league because they're running the ball better." Know how good Aaron Rodgers is when he gets opportunities to throw it down the field. So Zimmer's worried about Minnesota's defense. I'm worried about Minnesota's defense. We're going to get back to this game when it comes to play of the daytime.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.